Meeting to order for the Town of Brunswick Planning Board for November 20th, 2025. If everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, our agenda this evening, as it was posted on the town website and the town board, is as follows. There's only one on our agenda. Number one is the Paramount Building Group major subdivision. Applicant proposes a major subdivision on approximately 33-acre parcel of land, as well as construction of a new road with a cul-de-sac and a water line extension on property located on the northeast corner of Spring Avenue Extension and Crick Road. Paramount Building Group of New York is the applicant. In addition to that agenda item, we have several applications to be introduced under new business. So start the meeting with the review and approval of the minutes of November 6th. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those? Are there any corrections, changes?
There was just one on the first page. I don't know what line it is.
Okay,
It said wither. It should be weather, I think. WITHER.
next page.
It was minor.
Okay, there was a minor, while Linda's reviewing those, is there any other changes that anybody has picked up on? No amendments?
Oh. Twelfth line down,
Page 2.
page 2, the sixth word from the end. Yeah.
Now you can sleep.
Okay. All right, I will make a motion to approve the minutes with the correction. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, moving along to Paramount Building Group.
Good evening, everybody.
How are you tonight?
Very well. How's the board?
I'm good.
Sure.
Okay, while you're getting set up, we, at our last meeting, we reviewed a draft presented by Wayne in regards to Part 2. There was some suggestion on some changes and so forth and so on. And I believe now you had to make some changes on Part 1.
One of the board members at the last meeting had pointed out there was a correction that needed to be made to section D2 to change the duration of the excavation.
Okay,
I think it said 3+ years, and we changed that based on the reports and discussions we've had. Currently, the applicant anticipates that it'd be about 1 year of excavation.
okay.
So we made that just to reflect that.
Is that what you have? Do you recall that?
I recall the discussion,
Okay. At this time, do you want to discuss any changes that you made to part two from the original draft?
Sure, based on discussion last time of the part two, it was recommended from the board to change 2 items. One was on page 1E, instead of note a small impact, it was recommended to change that to moderate to large impact. So that's 1E. I changed to moderate to large.
Okay,
And on page 5, item number 8, 8D, it was recommended by the board to change that from no to small impact to moderate to large impact. That's the irreversibly convert ag land to non-ag land uses either more than 2.5 acres in an ag district or more than 10 acres not within an ag district. So it was recommended from the board to change that to moderate to large. The rest of it stayed the same.
all right. And you concur with those changes, if you recall? Is that
I
correct?
think it's worth further discussion, honestly.
Yeah.
After going through the part 3, we actually go through and discuss those items.
So I had some technical difficulties today getting something over the board, so I apologize, but I did bring it in copy and hard copy. Obviously, don't expect you to read it live here in front of us, but it was just some additional thoughts and considerations on the 3 items on the part 2 that were marked as moderate to large impacts. Just some more discussion points. In looking to DEC's secret workbook, we took a close look at those, and as Wayne said, they are largely subjective in saying, well, what is small, what is large, but the secret workbook does provide some guidance. For example, with the excavation of more than 1,000 tons of natural material, clearly we are over that mark. But according to DEC, if that excavation is in furtherance of a construction project and is limited, our material being excavated is limited because we are not endlessly excavating for commercial purposes. We're only excavating the minimum amount required to meet that road grade that we're trying to get, that safe road grade. Would actually be a small impact, according to DEC.
Let's
Okay,
let's take that one.
sure.
Wayne?
I think he makes a valid point. I think the intent of this question on the part 2 is geared towards a commercial mining endeavor. And that if the removal of material is part of the grading of the subdivision for infrastructure, that is kind of all part of the project. I mean, we've had projects here before that have removed a lot of material.
Okay. Any comments from the board?
So when does the clock start? If they're actively selling gravel off of there now, is the 2-year clock started?
No,
The 2-year clock for DEC jurisdiction for a mining permit, like the window for the construction exemption,
Right.
I would think that would start when excavation for purposes of developing the site would begin.
well, it starts, I believe it starts when construction starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you take that first scoop of dirt out of there off-site in order to get the grades that you need to be at, the clock starts then.
Well, there's been some excavation already. There has been no removal of any material from there.
I believe there has. Every property owner can remove up to 1,000 yards, or is it 750 yards?
It's 1,000 tons.
1,000 tons. or 750
It's a little
yards
different
from their
than a yard.
property without a mining permit. So I think
Okay.
over the years, Tom has removed within that window from the property, I believe.
So I, just as a clarification, I'm going to go with Dave's question. So exactly when would the clock start? When they excavate the first load after the approval or
Yeah,
what?
when he mobilizes to the site and starts removing material is when the clock would start.
Okay. All right.
Can I give the board just a couple of thoughts? I don't disagree. You can take off 1,000 ton or 750 cubic yards, but what you can't do is start your project before the project approvals. I don't know what material came off when, but if it was in connection with this proposed project, you can't start the project. And if we're viewing as a planning board, the project as including the excavation,
Correct.
that cannot legally start until the board acts and all your project approvals are in place. So I don't know what material came off or when. That's a fact question I don't know the answer to, but
Yeah.
you can't start your project. Once the project started, Dave, then that period of time for DEC's
Right.
clock starts.
Correct.
But they can't move material until we decide one way or the other.
Well, the question is, are they moving material to start the project? Or are they simply moving material in a manner that a property owner can do that? And I don't know the fact
I
answer
don't
to
know,
that.
but I
Yep.
just-
That would need to be investigated. I don't know the answer to that.
Not our job. But
I don't believe that to be the case.
Okay. Is there any other questions on the discussion on that particular item? I would assume that the board, if there is no response, concurs with the applicant on that? Okay. Well, let's go to your second point then, or next point.
This was the very next question, question 1E, if you are following along on the part 2. The proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. This project is going to last, it could last more than a year. The project being for the subdivision, creation of the road, utilities, drainage swales will start, I believe, while excavation is going on. So there will be an overlap period, which will cut down on the overall build out of the subdivision. But the client anticipates with a year for removal, that the build out should probably be is anticipated to be about 6 months. And so if there's overlap, we're thinking a year to a year and a half
Okay.
for excavation and then build out of the subdivision. Not the individual homes themselves will go up as the market permits with selling those. And so my point being that looking further into DEC guidance, this is kind of distinguishable, I believe, from something that would be considered moderate to large, which would be a multi-phase residential project that would have, a condominium building, then apartments, and then another phase of single-family homes, or something that would last 3 to 4 years. So again, it is a little subjective, but I think that in reviewing the seeker guidance, to me, it's fairly clear that this is more akin to something that would be a small nose, limited impact rather than a moderate to large impact.
Wayne?
All I will say is that most subdivisions in town take more than a year to build out. Some of them take a significant amount of time, like Sharp Road. They're still building out that. And how long ago did we approve that project?
3 years ago?
What's that?
Has it been that long? 3 years ago, maybe?
Yeah. I think you have to look at the scale of the project and the number of lots and to kind of determine whether that's a small impact or a moderate impact. With 18 lots, 16 or 17 of which are all on that same parcel on that side of the road. It's not unusual to take a year or more to have full build out. Not that there's no impact, I'm not saying that, but you have to kind of look at the magnitude, I guess, as a result of how long it's going to take to build out. Is when you decide what the level of impact is.
Any comments from the board?
So we'll have we may have a moderate impact during construction, but for the life of the project itself, it's considered small.
Correct.
I think if you take the project as a whole, where they're moving 20,000 truckloads of gravel out, it was just a matter of going in there and putting a road in and putting houses up. That's probably no or small impact. But if you're going in there and removing as much product as you want to remove, the project as a whole is moderate to large, I would think.
Just
Doubleday was pretty much worked with what he had, put a road in and put his houses in. And this is going to have a big impact on the neighborhood for 2 or 3 years, just with the fill removal.
Well, again, just one point that the fill removal is anticipated just to take the 1 year. And it couldn't go to 3 years anyway. But this question specifically, and I understand your points, but this question specifically is only with respect to the length of time. So is the length of time a large impact? And from what I understand from what I read from DEC guidance, DEC says a moderate to large impact for this question would be a construction that occurs over multiple phases over many years. So while another area of the part 2 may be a moderate to large, this specific question I was just adding to that is small to no.
Any other comments?
Does the change, we had a report provided to us by a traffic engineer about the number of trips that could be generated to remove that material. Does that affect something now that because that report, as I recall, indicated it would take 2 years to remove all that material. And if they're going to condense it into 1 year, the trips go up.
They did revise it to show what the impact would be at 1 year. Yeah. And it didn't meet the threshold for
That's,
additional studies for
Okay.
the amount of traffic at the intersection.
yeah.
If this project was to start and you're approaching 1 year and you only have 3/4 of the material removed, what is the process? Do you have to come before the board to get an extension of some sort, or how does that work?
Can you repeat your question, Russ?
Okay, everybody's on this 1-year timeline. And what happens, there's weather conditions don't permit, for an extended period of time to do any excavation. And all of a sudden, at the end of the 1-year period, which, the permit allows for, you find that, I need another couple months here. How does that process, does that have to come before us to get an extension on that timeline, or how does that work?
Well, it's a couple of parts to that, I think. It depends on whether the project is in fact limited to 1 year of excavation. There's been some technical information in the record on 1.5 years and 2 years. So that's one thing that still needs to be determined by the board. Then there's the DEC timeframe, and if for some reason project issues, site conditions, it takes longer than DEC's timeframe, it's going to be a DEC issue. Because at that point, the department would weigh in and determine whether there's been any violation in terms of site activity without a mining permit.
Okay,
Okay, so there's a couple of parts to that. One will be, for this board, what in fact is the allowable duration for the material excavation and trucking. And Wayne will assist you on that, because again, the record does include technical information on 1 year, 1.5 years, and 2 years. And you have to weigh the impacts associated with those timeframes. It's always a conundrum in these cases. The shorter the duration, the larger potentially are the impacts because there's more truck trips and more equipment operation. The longer the duration, potentially smaller impacts, but it extends the length of the project. So you have to balance those things, and Wayne will assist you doing that.
Yeah, and completely agree with Mr. Gilchrist. And, to be clear, we had the 1.5 years with the traffic report because that's what we thought. And we know that for us, at least, technically we could go over and work it out with DEC, but this is subdivision development. There's no interest in dealing with DEC with a mining permit. So that we consider our other bookend. So, at first we said, all right, well, let's give ourselves some wiggle room. We'll just do it 1.5 years. In talking to some of the parties that could be doing the excavation, I think there was a lot of discussion of, yeah, we could do it in a lot shorter period of time. So that's why I wanted to provide Wayne, or maybe Wayne had requested, well, why don't we update the traffic study to see how significant those impacts would be if we did cram it within 1 year. So we're saying anticipating 1 year based on what contractors are saying. But yes, it could go over 1 year. I would say that it almost certainly wouldn't go over 2 years unless there was some drastic issue, and then we would have to deal with DEC, and that would be another nightmare for another day. But it's anticipated for 1 year, but it could go over that time.
I think based on the conversation we had, and some of the comments that Dave made and Linda made, I think a moderate impact would occur. So I would be in favor of keeping that at that point.
But we also have to have the ability to analyze that and discuss what that moderate impact is in the part 3 as part of the decision-making
Okay?
under seeker. Is the moderate impact just the fact that they're removing that much material? Is it the fact that it's going to take them 1.5 years to 2 years? Is it are you looking at the cumulative impact of the number of trucks that's going to take that offsite? I mean, it's kind of I'll say interesting
So what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting, I'm not quite sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, but, you know,
You know,
I mean, you're talking about the impact on the land.
What-
This section's impact on land. You know what I mean? And to move 400,000 yards plus on
Do we
33
push it
acres,
back to the
acres, I think you have to consider somewhere along the line that that's not a small impact. I'm not saying it's a large or not, but it's not a small.
It's a significant number, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's a significant number. And I think that's what, basically Dave was implying that, this will have,
But when it's all done, what is the environmental impact on it? When the project's complete? Is it a long-term impact? Is it a short-term impact? There's
it's a short-term
things-
impact, I
Things to
think.
consider.
All right. So now that
Is
disqualifies,
there mitigation measures that can be put in place to mitigate that impact?
I don't know. I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know either.
just at that point on mitigation, originally, there was a different grade for the road, jumping back, but, and
Oh, as
the,
far as
right, the
the amount of material.
the amount of material removed was adjusted, so the goal is to remove the minimum amount required so that we can still keep a safe grade on that road. So that's something that we did look at, did revise. With the traffic study showing that even if they were going to complete it in a year, we'd still be well below what they would consider a traffic impact. I just don't know, construction is always an impact, but it's a temporary impact. Like the project itself is the subdivision, which when built out will only have, is it 17? 18 total, 17 houses onto Creek Road. It's a minimum to no impact long-term. So, and what I was trying to add is this question, I believe, focuses on just the duration of the time. And for a construction project of this type, I don't believe a year and a half, given the noise information we provided and truck impacts, is a moderate to large impact.
Can I give a couple of thoughts to the board?
Absolutely.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Wayne, is this a type 1 action?
Yes.
It is type 1, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, under seeker, for type 1 actions, you cannot have what's called a conditioned neg deck, okay? A conditioned negative declaration imposing mitigation measures. But as a practical matter, what often happens between planning boards and applicants is there are discussions concerning what mitigation measures would reduce those potential impacts to a point where they are small. And applicants generally then will incorporate those into their project plan, which then would allow the board to consider that as part of the project, and it would no longer be a conditioned neg deck. In these types of cases, there are many mitigation measures that can address even short-term construction impacts. It's ongoing noise monitoring, limiting the number of trucks, limiting the hours of operation, knowing how that impacts duration. These are things that I think Wayne can work on together with Matt and TJ and come up with what amounts to appropriate mitigation measures for the short-term construction impacts, which could be potentially large to moderate, but when mitigated could be reduced in terms of scope and impact. And those could then be incorporated into an overall excavation plan for the project. In many cases like these, there is something akin to, it's not a mine, but it is a mining plan. You want to call it an excavation plan. Where are you starting? How is the material being removed from the site? How's it getting on? And what's the truck routes? It's important to know how the material is being removed from the site because that'll impact sound. It'll potentially impact how steep the slopes are, how the material gets removed, how things are stabilized on site. These are things that Wayne and Matt in particular can work on. And I think it might be appropriate for the applicant to consider putting that together and in front of the board with review by Wayne. Then these shorter term, what could be viewed as potentially moderate to large impacts could be appropriately reduced in scale so that the board could consider them as a smaller impact, because that would be incorporated into the project rather than a conditioned negative declaration. Anything to add, Wayne?
I guess when I said that we could discuss mitigation, to potentially reduce the impacts, there are a number of things, some of which Andy mentioned that could be done. Even changing, the grading so that instead of 400,000, it's something less than that. I mean, that's a possibility. I think it needs to be discussed.
As far as I'm aware, that has been discussed. I mean, I think in the project, we changed the grade of the road.
Yeah.
And now we're at a point where I think that's the minimum amount.
Yeah, we had looked at originally flattening the road out even more, because in discussions with the highway department, basically the goal was to have it as flat as possible while still providing drainage. So in theory, we could have probably graded down into the lot. Whereas now, we only grade down off of Creek Road as requested to provide drainage away from Creek Road, so we're not having water running out of the subdivision onto Creek and causing icing concerns and things of that nature. That's the only spot where the road grades down. And then it quickly, we've got a vertical curve where the road grades up to 5%. There seemed to be an agreed upon amount, a safe grade, passable grade, especially in the wintertime, And we do
Safe by whose standards? Because there's lots of roads in the town of Brunswick that are much steeper than 5%. So, 5% is safe, but I drive up a road that's probably 10%, maybe 12,
Mhm.
off New York State Route 7.
Okay.
And so
Yeah. I'm certainly,
5% is,
3 driveways off of it.
yeah, I'm certainly not gonna argue, my driveway, I used to live out almost in Steventown, and my driveway was probably well over 15%.
Right.
Maybe 20. But that's, during the wintertime, icing concerns, things of that nature, maintenance of that road. We're proposing roadside swales here as a part of our stormwater treatment practice for the site. Swales, once you exceed 5%, you're also at a significant erosion risk there. So this being turned over into town road, it would be, if you were 10% on this road, there's some other roads in the town where they are at 8 to 10%, I think, subdivisions that were taken over in the neighboring towns, where it's a constant erosion issue. They're having to maintain the ditches yearly, multiple times a year. Whereas 5% is kind of right on that balance. That's allowable by DEC. It's right at, the peak of what they want to allow for roadside swales. So there's a lot of factors, taken in here, but realistically with the site and the way it could have been graded, the road could have been flattened out significantly and probably double. It would have been double the volume of export, I would estimate. So that was reduced significantly by bringing the road up to 5% grade and constantly climbing in. Once we achieve the negative pitch off of Creek, the rest of the road through its entirety to the termination of the cul-de-sac is a constant grade up. So.
Just to add to that, Wayne, you have a good point. Obviously we want to take care of anything we can that you guys think is appropriate mitigation. We'd be happy to look at. We provided the hours of proposed operation in the plan. It's already in the materials. The traffic report, again, even at this amount of I don't know I'd be curious as to what impact reducing the amount of material off the site would have. Even at the current proposal, the traffic consultant found it was well below what they would consider traffic impacts on the road that would need to even be studied further, let alone be an issue. If you want to, we can further have a conversation about what else could possibly do to address these concerns.
How does this affect the process of the seeker review at this point?
Well, procedurally, you're at the point of reviewing part 2,
Right.
and those discussions continue. That would then lead to preparation of a proposed part 3, not there yet, but part 3 would be the actual determination, the positive declaration or negative declaration. And that would need to have a proper record basis for your determination. So procedurally, you're at the point of still determining responses to the questions in part 2 and determining what significance you're placing on those. And that's where you are. There's no particular time frame associated with this, but that's your current procedural job, is considering those impacts to make your neg deck or pos deck.
Well, let's review your final question.
Sure. The final question was about disturbing more than 2.5 or converting irreversibly more than 2.5 acres in an agricultural district. We are in a New York State Ag and Markets agricultural district. The DEC isn't clear on what constitutes the irreversible, converting irreversibly. Is it just the physical impermeable surfaces, or is it that the site will not be used as a farm or productive, commercial, viable agricultural business? But from what we can understand from the soil borings and from our understanding of the site, even though it's in an agricultural district, besides the small amount of hay that Tom had let grow on the property, it's not really a commercially viable agricultural land. I think the soils indicate that they would be severely limited in what could be grown there. I think the topography would also be an issue with putting infrastructure for either livestock or any other type of farming. So while it is zoned agricultural now, I just wanted to add that point in. From our investigation, this isn't taking flat, prosperous agricultural land that can grow abundant crops and turning it into, a parking lot. This is, very different than that.
Dave, you were the one that brought that point up.
You don't know what the soil type is there.
Yeah, the land soil classification.
No, the type. Bernston puts down as you don't know what.
One more time.
Bernston,
The type, not the classification.
I believe it was Huzik. It's in the soil. I think it's Huzik.
one of the better soils.
For the basically just kind of referenced here, Mr. Starbucks is in the soil survey. So every time we do a SWIP, we'll pull a custom soil survey where we put the property lines into the soil report generator and generate a soil report. So the bulk of the excavation on the site is in that Huzik soil. These ones come up when you look at in the farming section, the land capability classification. One section is rated as a 3E. I think this section was rated as a 4E, which the National Resources Conservation Service says classes 3 and 4 have very severe limitations with respect to agriculture viability. And then the E on it indicates a hazard for erosion further impacting commercial agricultural viability.
I think E is topography,
Okay, well, that would make sense if we're referencing erosion, so,
right?
that's from the soil survey. From the USDA, RCS.
I know there's farmers that would farm it, if it wasn't gonna be houses. Once it, I mean, even if you put it in solar, you can rip the solar out and go back and farm it. But if you put 18 houses, driveways, and it's not gonna go back. It's gonna be, what's the word? Irreversible. Converted. So if we don't speak up, there goes another 13 acres. There's farmers that are in that neighborhood that would farm it, but a farmer doesn't own it, so that's a problem. I don't know where you stop. I mean, if you don't highlight it, I don't think it stops your project, but I think if you don't speak up, next way, we're doing 3, but a C slope is okay to, I know we worked around steeper than that.
Wayne, do you have any additional comments on that particular
Well, I
question
think,
8D?
I just think the things to consider are scale, magnitude, usable property there. You do have a significant amount of wetland on a portion of that. That others portion where lot 18 is probably not usable for anything but putting the house on a small portion of it. You do have to look at drainage, and erosive soils too, so.
When's the last time that was planted with corn or anything?
Probably when John Arecki worked it. It's been a while.
So basically, it's just a hay field, right?
Now it's just a hayfield.
I don't know.
Is it gonna stop farming in Rensselaer, Brunswick? No, it's not gonna stop farming in Brunswick, but it's, another 13 acres, it's not gonna be farmed. But it's not owned by a farmer now, so that's a problem down in Columbia County. It's a lot of city people bought the farmland and they don't farm it, so.
Okay, let me see how that works.
So you're gonna have a small impact on farming in a neighborhood? Yes. So you're gonna have a moderate or large impact on that piece of ground? Yes. I don't know. You read we just get this little snippet here. Oh,
The thing is that what it says is, is the proposed action an irreversible convert agricultural land to non-agricultural uses. I'd have to say yes. I don't know how you would not say it's a,
I don't know what Emil thinks.
I don't know.
You're not going to put it back, so it's more of a moderate to large.
Okay. I agree with that. I think that ought to stay the way it is, to be honest with
So, just one final thought. And I know it is, all you get is the one little question without much more explanation on part two, but, and I looked at this, I can't even tell you a number of times, but to even answer this question, you have to be in a situation where you're irreversibly converting. So whether it's 100 acres or it's 2.2 acres of impermeable surface or 13 acres, 10 acres. So that's what gets you to the next, which is, okay, yes, we are irreversibly converting more than 2.5 acres located in that district. Is that small or large? And so I think that just because we're irreversibly converting, it can still be a small impact. And I think, from what I understand from DEC's guidance, it's not just, is it going to irreversibly convert that land? That's a given. That's why we're here at this question. The question of impact and magnitude and scope is it's going to have an effect on the agricultural district. Is it putting, I don't want to use something.
So basically you're saying if this was like 200 or 300 acres that you were doing,
Or something that was drastically different
Yeah.
than, and would deter other farmers away from it. If it was an industrial manufacturing site, that there was constant noise, or that those are the types of things that I think would be more akin to a moderate to large. Because you can irreversibly convert the ag land and still be considered a noticeable impact.
well, I just polling the board here. Who thinks that this is a moderate to large impact? We got one. Good. Okay. That's our opinion.
Taken.
I have no other response to this whole thing.
No,
Okay. So now, as far as the part two, are we considering changing the first two items to small? Or
That's
what's
what
the
it
process
sounds
now?
like based on our discussion. It's kind of a board decision.
Okay, let's go back to the first one. I think it's a moderate to large, but that's the excavation removal of more than 1,000 tons. And then the next one is this time frame for continuous, because we involve construction that continues for more than 1 year, multiple phases. I personally think that they ought to remain as they've been checked off initially by Wayne. I think both of those are moderate to large impacts in this particular case. That's my opinion.
Well, we also had a discussion on
Mitigation.
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 So where does this mitigation come into this? I mean, do they have to present we have to get into discussion before we even move forward on part two?
So proceed, I'll give you some thoughts on that. So procedurally, if you determine in part two that there are potentially moderate to significant large adverse environmental impacts,
Yeah.
that lead you in a certain direction in terms of your seeker determination. If there's continued discussion between a board and an applicant on here are our concerns regarding those moderate to large impacts, and are they able to be addressed? In this case, given that they tend to align with short-term construction impacts, are there a way that those can be addressed so that even during the construction period, they can be reduced from a moderate to large to a potentially smaller impact? Are there ways to mitigate or address that? And could those then be incorporated into the project proposal? That's generally what happens at this point during project reviews, and it starts with a technical discussion, and then Wayne can review that with the board. Ultimately, it comes from the applicant. The applicant wants to come up with proposals, that's fine. If they want to sit down and coordinate with Wayne on some of those things, that's fine too. This happens a lot of different ways in a lot of different municipalities. But the end product would be, we're incorporating some things as an applicant into our project that will address what the board has identified as potentially moderate to large impacts. And by doing that, we're reducing those impacts, and we'd like you to consider them to be small impacts now. If impacts are determined to be small, that leads you to potentially another seeker determination. So procedurally, that's where you're at in terms of how projects get reviewed and ultimately acted upon. So there's a period of time, I think, for the technical consultants, both Matt and Wayne for the board, Matt for the applicant, to start addressing some of those issues. You've identified, Russ, what at least you've identified your concerns, and I think they're common amongst the board, which is the potential issues associated with just the excavation and then the duration. You've heard some presentation by the applicant that we've already reduced the amount of material to get a safe and passable road in coordination with the town. And we've had a lot of traffic analysis done so that even at this amount, there's no trigger that requires further, traffic mitigation analysis. But is there a way that these issues associated with what the board sees as potentially moderate to large associated with excavation able to be addressed in a way, mitigated in a way that would give the board a level of comfort to say, well, now we view those impacts as being small? That's generally a technical discussion between board consultant and applicant consultant.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, Wayne?
No, I think you described it accurately. I can meet with Matt and we can talk about, there are some things you've already talked about that maybe if you memorialize it into a document for the board to discuss.
Excavation plan or
Correct. I think that'd be,
Well, let me ask you something, Wayne.
Maybe provide additional details of how you're
Grading
going to
limits?
remove all that. What's that?
Grading limits, like, they're not going to grade beyond the power line in the back, and they're not going to grade the backs of lots 6, 8, and 9.
Not on this plan.
Right.
But in the plans.
There is a grading plan.
It's part of it. Incorporate that. Is that sort of that?
Let me ask you a question.
I mean, you could mitigate short-term impacts and create long-term impacts. You know what I mean? You could end up with a 10% grade on the road in order to mitigate a short-term impact. I mean,
Right. So
you
maybe,
got to consider all of that.
Well, one thing I want
Not
to, one thing I want to address first. We had this discussion. You prepared the part 2. All those 3 items you said are moderate to large impact.
That's
Based on-
not exactly true.
Okay,
They were
now-
changed on me.
Right?
The board
Well,
The board
yes.
discussed it, and that's what they decided.
I'm going to ask you a question. Okay? During the conversation, we had responses from the applicant, so forth and so on. Did you, through this conversation, feel that possibly, maybe it shouldn't be a moderate, it should be a small impact on any of those 3 items? Regardless of what the board, on a straw vote said.
Well, I'm here for technical assistance.
Well, you're going to offer us
I think we need,
input on.
I kept saying we need to look at the scale of the project, the magnitude, the duration, all those things when you come up with what the impact is going to be. Honestly, an 18-lot subdivision is not that big as far as a magnitude. It's not 100 houses, it's not 1,000 houses, it's 18. So you got to look at the scale. You got to look at what else this property could be used for. It fits into the community. It's residential housing. You got to look at everything. So
I
I think a lot of what is in the Code of Rules and Regulations from DEC is there to prevent, we'll say poorly planned development. You got to look at we got to look at the environmental impacts. That's really
well,
what we're looking at.
I
So you
think,
got to look at scale, you got to look at
yeah, but
Duration.
here's the problem.
all of that.
I think this project is the first project we've had here that all of a sudden we're going to move 400,000 yards of material. And that automatically, for me, triggers,
Well, it
well,
raises.
wait a second, this has got to have some type of,
Right,
moderate to-
that's why we didn't just
yeah,
pass it through, you
yeah,
know?
but
That's why we're going through the
I agree.
environmental review.
I agree with you, this, an 18, lot subdivision, is peanuts in some neighborhoods. And I mean, but I think the fact that this involves removing a whole hill and everything like that, that's going to obviously change the landscape. It's going to change the use of that property, future use of that property, and so forth and so on. That's what triggered my opinion to say, yeah, that's a moderate to large impact. And you said many times, DEC, those are just guidelines.
Correct.
They're not rules, they're not regulations, they're not set in stone. They're guidelines. So I think at this point, you guys have to get together and see what kind of mitigating circumstances, with the idea, I'm sure, that you want to, if you can provide mitigating circumstances on each one of these, or an argument, but above what you've already said, in an effort to get all these items put down to a small impact. Is that correct?
I mean, that's certainly one way to do it. I think overall, as Mr. Gilchrist said, this is the time where if you guys, the board does have impacts that you're concerned about, for us, the best thing to do is to identify what those are. Is it, because a lot of these questions, it can be a moderate to large impact, but when we go to part 3, that doesn't necessarily mean that the project goes one way or the other with the determination of significance. The next step is there a significant adverse impact? And a positive declaration or negative declaration. A positive declaration only sends us back to look at further the impacts that you guys have already identified and come up with mitigating measures. So if we can do that now and avoid that, that would be the goal, because that lends us down another, year and a half and 6 figures of extra expenses and everything, and scoping with you guys. I mean,
Yep.
You'll get sick of us.
Okay.
So if there are impacts that you guys can identify, then
But if we get to a part 3 and there's several moderate to large impacts identified, in the part 3, you have to go through and write why it's moderate to large, right? And go through a discussion in the decision-making process in order to move forward. So there has to be some discussion on that in the part 3. And if you can't discuss it away, then it goes to an environmental impact statement, and
Right.
and you have to go through and talk about all those things.
Okay.
Russ, if I could give one more thought, which I think would assist the board, is allow the technical folks to have that discussion. What would probably be very helpful on the record is pulling together a lot of the technical information, which seems to be in disparate reports, and pull it together in what might be deemed an excavation plan, because if I've listened to the board correctly, really the concerns, aside from irreversible conversion of ag land, all are focused on short-term construction impacts and specifically the short-term excavation. So if you are able to pull together a lot of the existing technical information in the record and put it together in terms of an excavation plan, potentially a map showing how you're getting that material off and when, what the grades will be, what the limits of excavation are, when you're going to meet final grades. You can pull together timeframes, maybe not limiting yourself to a year, but you've got technical information on a year and a half, and 2 years, and then review that with Wayne and say, well, we're addressing traffic through this. We're addressing sound or noise impacts through that. We're addressing stormwater runoff during the excavation by this method. I think would be very helpful, the board, to have that specifically put together. And I think it would help in terms of the seeker determination too.
Okay,
I'd be happy to put that together.
all right. So is there any other questions from the board for the applicant at this point? Wayne, do you want to make any closing comments?
Well, I think I'm going to struggle on the impacts on the ag resources. Describing what those moderate to large impacts are.
All right,
So maybe some input from the board to tell me what
Well,
that moderate to large impact is.
if we looked at it as the whole project, perhaps it's a identification of how much land was currently viable for agriculture, because there's wetlands, that section, that whole area west of Creek is not agriculturally
No,
viable.
but you could plant corn in a
No,
buffer
I-
zone.
Not,
Up here, aren't you?
yeah, I'm talking.
Oh, over there, yeah,
Yeah.
you can't
Right.
do anything with that.
And then you've got the wetland that's part of a larger wetland, but the buffer zone and the other field area, maybe that's identified as 8 acres out of the 33 acres, or I'm not sure. But
And just to add to that, if you remember from being at the site, the tree line is about there. So a substantial portion is in the woods.
I mean, and that's fairly mature woodlot there that comes down into the.
I'm just offering a suggestion.
No, I get it.
When you look at that plan,
But the way you just described it, it's no longer a moderate impact. It's a small.
If the record supports that, and if there's an identification of what realistically are viable ag lands currently on the site, given wetland conditions and slopes and maybe soil types and things like that, at least that information, that evidence would be in the record, so you could support a determination on that issue. I think that's a good approach, Linda.
We could do that and try to build out more information, try to get the board more perspective on, or at least now.
Okay. All right,
That's all from me.
that's all for you. Thank you for your input. Appreciate it. With that being said, I guess we have a game plan here. Our next meeting is on December 4th. Do you wish to be on that? There's probably going to be a lot of stuff on that.
If we're getting closer to the meeting and we need additional time, then we'll just reach out and ask that we get.
Okay, that's fair enough. Appreciate that. All right. So we'll tentatively put you on the agenda for our next meeting on December 4th.
Appreciate that.
The meeting after that is on the 18th, just for your reference. Okay? And nobody has anything else? I guess we're done for this evening. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our agenda. We have several items under new business that we'd like to review. Is there any order on these? Okay, then I'll take let's see by dates here. I think the first one would be what, the 689, 691 Huzik Road? Okay. And that is that was submitted by Paul Angster.
Paul's not here, he's not feeling well.
Okay. So we'll table that for now. Okay, the next one on the agenda would be the Tranquility.
Let's do that one last if we
Do
could.
that one last, okay?
The next one would have been that came in, would have been 30 Stone Arabia. It's just the application and stamping,
I hate to say anything, but I didn't understand a word you said.
30 Stone Arabia.
Okay, all right. The 30 Stone Arabia. Okay. And this is a waiver of subdivision. Okay.
Good evening, Nick Costa from Advanced Engineering, and I'm here to present the proposed subdivision of the parcel of 30 Stone Arabia Drive.
Okay.
This is a parcel that 2 hours ago, we discovered that is the zoning map and the file map for the North 40 subdivision conflict, or they don't agree. So what we had done is we presented, we submitted a plan that showed this parcel being in the R25 zoning district, but it really is part of so, the original lots, 78, 79, 88, 182, as presented on the original subdivision, the final subdivision, where it's all of the PDDs.
Okay.
So, that's, to kind of clarify that to the board, because, you know, what you're looking at on the drawing that we prepared is what's shown on the zoning map, the town zoning map, which is incorrect. So this is a PDD parcel, and in the PDD, the minimum lot sizes are 15,000 square feet, and the setbacks that are presented in that file map, which was provided to us, are all less than what we've shown on here. But we obviously have to go back and correct this map to reflect the file information, the file map information.
Just to back up a little bit.
Sure.
Originally, this whole parcel was 3 lots, 4 lots, and it has been combined.
Yeah, it was combined into one, which is 2.3 acres in size.
Okay.
And we were proposing to subdivide it into 2 lots. One lot that would have 0.82 acres, and the house lot, the lot that's developed with the house, would be 1.48 acres.
So survey-wise, this is obviously accurate.
That's correct. And it won't change.
So how does this, Andy, how would this affect anything we do as far as subdividing a lot versus the PDD?
I don't know the answer as we sit here.
Yeah.
We're going to have to take, North 40 was a PDD, is that correct?
That's right.
Yes.
Right, so I think we would need to take a look at that PDD approval to answer that question.
Okay.
Generally with PDDs, the terms of the, or conditions of the approval are what govern that project. So not suggesting there'd be a problem with this. We just have to take a look at that and see if there was anything about, these were originally 4 approved lots within the PDD approval, and then those 4 were merged into one? Interesting.
5?
Four.
5?
5.
Yeah, fine.
78,
Oh, yeah,
79,
And we just need to check on any further, and it wouldn't be necessarily applicable, but if there were any provision about no further subdivision of lots, we'd have to determine
Right.
what that means in this context, because you took certain lots and merged them together.
And this is all on public water and public sewer?
Yes, that's correct.
How are you getting?
1, 2, 3.
Oh, I see. All right, I guess we got to do a little research on this. Obviously, this is under new business. Just kind of introduced the project. Sorry you had to wait this long.
Oh, no, that's all.
Um, Is this something that we can address at our next meeting? Would that be enough time to decipher that?
Are we able to pull out the picture? Yes, Russ.
Okay. Then we can put you on the agenda for our next meeting, and that would be on December 4th. All right. Do you have any other questions for us? Obviously, we don't have any questions at this point because we don't know what the whole thing is. So we will see you on the 4th, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Russ, drop it back to Mr. Inkster's submission. He was hoping that, that could be submitted today as new business, even in his absence. If the board would allow that, so that the next meeting, it would not have to be new business.
Okay. Well, that's sort of I was going with it, but.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, when you said, okay, he wasn't here, so,
When you tabled it, it maybe.
yeah, I
that
could
could be
table it.
your-
Okay, we're gonna untable it. Is, Mark Danskin isn't here, is he?
No.
Okay. All right. Can you,
So essentially, the Mazzelli property is being sold. And in the process of doing that, they found out that his sign is not on his property. So they're adjusting the lot line to incorporate his sign onto that property. So it's a small lot line adjustment to shift, to incorporate the sign.
okay.
So this is where the package shipping place is and
Right.
then it's got a second floor.
He's selling that parcel and retaining the old body shop.
body shop. Where's the sign?
It's on the edge of the property.
Okay.
He's gonna move the line.
Shift line.
Yeah, yeah. So what is it, just how much is it?
7 foot.
7 foot?
He's just going to there.
How does this impact the garage on the other side where they have these parking places?
They're getting this land added. Right now, that goes right up against the wall.
Okay. But it doesn't impact the parking on the, was it the Silver Griffin?
Right.
Okay, all right.
The lot line would be behind, between the wall and the existing head pavement.
You don't have to worry about setbacks on this land.
Well, I have no problem, like now that we've been introduced to them, to put them on the agenda. Forego the, putting them on new business. if it wasn't there. Does anybody have a problem with that? Okay, we will put Mr. Angster on the, this is strictly a lot line adjustment.
Yes. That's gotta go to county.
No.
I don't think so, right? It doesn't.
Okay, then we'll put him on
Most
our
of the county
agenda also
doesn't use
for
subdivisions.
December 4th.
Only site plans, special use permits, variances.
Okay, so where are we now? We got two on,
A rerun.
I'll recuse myself.
Mr. Gallivan.
I heard something there, okay. This is, okay. Jacob, what do we got going here?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Try and make it as quickly as possible. I've got 3 of them under new business tonight. First one here is on Deep Hill Road. This is previously approved subdivision. Lands of Sean Gallivan. They're simply looking to adjust the line between lot 1 and lot 2 by about 0.07 acres. Started construction on a driveway on lot 1 and realized they needed a little bit more room to make the curve from the driveway to lot 2. So rather than having 2 angle points, we put a curve in the property line. So they would have enough room to, when they do start construction on the driveway for lot 2, they would have the room to make that curve.
Okay,
So we're seeking a waiver of subdivision for the lot line adjustment.
so you're not creating a new lot, it's just so clarification, strictly a lot line adjustment?
Correct.
Okay. Because if you're creating a new lot,
It's still the original 3 lots, it's just an adjustment between lot 1 and 2.
yeah, I mean, we've done this before, right, Andy, as far as.
Correct.
some of that. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that?
Is this
Wayne?
map updated to the new houses that are there?
The only new house that is under construction still, I don't know if it has a CO yet, is on lot 3. There's no new construction on either lot 1 or lot 2 yet.
Oh, sorry.
This is on the west side.
Across the street.
Yeah.
It's across the street.
Anybody else have any questions? Wayne? I know you've had the floor a lot tonight, you probably don't want to get involved in this.
Looks pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, okay. Since these are, I would assume, very limited discussion items, I don't mind putting these on for December 4th. Probably put them at the beginning of the agenda,
Sure.
because I think we got National Grid coming in. So, and we got Paramount coming back.
I would not mind being at the end of the agenda, because I have to be in Berlin at 6 o'clock for another planning board meeting on December 4th. But I could see if the old boss man would come and represent the project if you guys would like to have it at the beginning of the meeting. I think I could wrangle them in for one meeting.
We can put you at the back.
Okay,
I mean, you said you have several projects coming.
I have 3 tonight for new business.
No, we don't, the other 2, we're not ready to present to the board. Wendy and I are still reviewing them.
We're not presenting your project?
Oh, I'm sorry, he's representing you, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Andy. The other one is, you and I are still working on, right?
Okay, you don't want to present that
No.
or ask any questions on that tonight?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Sorry, Andy.
It's okay.
Okay, we'll put you on the agenda for the 4th, and when we go through the agenda at the end of this meeting, we'll put the batting order.
Wherever I end up is fine, I can make it work.
I mean, if, Andy, would you be coming back formally at the next meeting?
Not on the 4th. We're going to request to be put on the 18th.
Okay, so we can put you at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
That would work.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we will put you on for the 4th this is for the Deep Kill Road project. And now you are the 920 Hoosick Road, right?
Yes,
Or is that 902?
902.
Okay.
Russ will note for the record that I'm going to formally recuse myself, as this is my wife and my project, and Jake's representing us as our surveyor.
Okay. Wayne, you want to step over into the attorney's?
Nope.
All right, let's proceed along here.
All right, I'm here to represent Andy and his wife in their next endeavor, Tranquility Bookshop. We're seeking a site plan special use permit for the property at 902 Hoosick Road. There'll be some minor exterior improvements, including parking, proposed sign, a walkway, patio, and some fence in the back for privacy, as well as some interior modifications to the existing building to turn it into a bookshop. Don't seek any major changes other than the increase in parking. And I would like to ask the board to present any questions they might have at this time. If there's anything else.
And if I could, I'll first say for the record, my wife and I are happy to be in front of the board. As the board is aware, and we'll let the public know, I am retiring from the practice of law at the end of this year. And this will be my wife and I next business venture. I did want to say for the record, ultimately, I still have a couple more meetings. I do have to say it's been certainly an honor, and it's been my privilege to represent the board for a number of years. I'll be stepping down from that. Actually, representing this board has been one of the more pleasant parts of my professional life. It's been many, many years, and I'm grateful for that. And now I'm going to be an applicant in front of the board, stepping you through this. You're going to have separate counsel on this. Chris Langlois will be taking over representing the board. I've known Chris for a while. I respect him personally and professionally. He's a very good lawyer. You're going to be in very good hands. So he'll assist you on the review of this project to the extent any legal issues come up. This is in the Business Light Zoning District at 902 Hoosick Road. It does allow retail. It allows retail up to 2,000 square feet with site plan review only. The structure is 2,100 square feet, including the garage, which we plan on renovating and using as part of the retail space. So to be conservative, we included the entire 2,100 square feet. That bumps this up to also require a special use permit under the Brunswick zoning law for retail use within the Business Light Zoning District. We've submitted the site plan application and the special use permit application. I've attached to the special use permit application further responses to each of the questions, each of the standards. Really, the intent here is to have what amounts to a fairly light commercial impact, even though there are surrounding residences, and you all know where this is. So right on the corner, I'm not sure who owns it now, but it was Lori Schindler's retail shop, retail office, realty office. We'll be right next door. To the west, there is an existing residence still used for residential purposes, and across the street on the east side of Lyman is also used for residential. This spot on the corner had been kind of part residential, part commercial. But nonetheless, this has been zoned by the town for business life. One of the good things about this lot is that the lay of the lot allows parking in this location, which would be closer to the existing commercial, the realty office. And cars do pull in. Obviously, headlights, if it's later in the evening, we'll go over hours of operation in a subsequent meeting. But they're shining in this direction. We try to keep things away from the residential. It could be converted to commercial in the future because it's in that zoning district. We've added the fence in the back to keep some privacy, not only for that lot, but for our guests that we anticipate having some landscaped areas and seating areas in the back, and fence over on this side as well. So we ask you to take a look at that, look at the site plan. One of the things we are considering, and I put it out there and I reviewed it in consultation with Kevin, the building department, is we had a handicap spot proposed in the front where the two-car garage would be. It may be more appropriate to relocate that to the back of the parking. You'll note that on the side of the house, it's indicated to be a handicap ramp because we need to get with the existing garage slab, we need to elevate that floor off the slab. So the floor, finished floor elevation of that renovated current two-car garage is going to be above grade. We need to be able to get handicap in there. There'll be a ramp on the side. Given that, we think the handicap may work better back here, and then there'll be two parking spots in front. We're looking at that now, and we may submit just a revised, updated site plan on that. And if you review the special use permit responses to it, if you have any questions, we'll certainly update that and respond to it. It will require a public hearing. So what we would request is to be placed on the December 18th agenda, where Chris would be available and can make that meeting. And we would, at that meeting, ask if it is determined to be complete to schedule a public hearing for January. Thank you.
Just as a side comment, Andy, it's been a pleasure working with you as attorney for our planning board, and you will be missed. At this point, you're not going to propose a traffic light there on Lyman, are you?
I might require one.
We do a traffic study.
Turning lane, DOT permit.
I mean, the good thing is there is a little bit of a two-way turn lane right outside the existing.
There you go. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Do you have any additional comments you want to make on the?
No.
Yeah, I know we had a discussion about this as far as the number of parking places required. And I think you checked with Kevin, you need, how many, 8?
Yeah, so the code here in this zoning district requires 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet of retail. So at 2,100, doing the math, this is in the application documents, it computes to 8.4 spaces. So we have 8 regular spaces plus the handicap space, so we have 9 spaces on the site.
All right. Any questions for Andy? Okay, I think we'll put you on the schedule for the 18th. And you said you're going to have going to change that parking around a little bit, right?
We may just relocate, there won't be any change to the layout, it will just show different parking. Handicap would be in the rear, 2 spaces moved to the front of what is now the driveway.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it, Wendy, for? Okay. Is there any old business that anybody wishes to bring up? Okay. I'd like to review the agenda at this point. For the 4th,
Thanks, Jake.
we have Paramount coming back. And I believe isn't National Grid scheduled? Okay.
Correct.
So we have Paramount and National Grid as the major ones. And we also have let's see here. We have 30 Stone Arabia. We have the Deep Kill. And then we have the lot line adjustment for the Sellies. Okay. For the 18th, we have right now Andy. And I think initially we had Paramount scheduled, if we did this correctly, to have, if we approved their seeker determination, to have their public hearing possibly scheduled for that. So the only thing right now we have firm for the 18th is Andy.
Russ, Russ Reeves would like to come on the 4th also as old business to give an update on Coal Lane, J.J. Sillis site.
That's the Sillis.
Yes.
But he doesn't wish to be on the, this is the 4th or the 18th?
For the board,
4th, okay.
yes, please.
But he's content with being just on old business.
Old business, yeah, once you give an update.
Should we put him on the agenda? Or just leave it old business?
Up to you. We can list them and just as an update. Or he can simply come in and at the end of the meeting, you always ask, is there any old business to review?
Since it's just an update, why don't we just put him on for, now, let's put him on the agenda. He'll be the last one on the agenda. That way we keep everything on the record. Okay. All right, is there any other items that I missed or anything? What is the story with CBE? Or there is no story?
No, we have not heard a word.
Okay,
I would like to talk to the board briefly about meeting minutes. In an effort to save some time and some money to the town, would the board be agreeable to meeting minutes electronically via email rather than printed, mailed copies? Is that something the board
I would prefer them emailed, actually.
would entertain?
I don't have a problem email because I can always go back and go on the town website.
Absolutely, they're always available all our minutes are available on the town website.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we could just send an email that they've been posted on the town website and we'll just.
Well, we don't have an issue with sending a group email out with attached meeting minutes electronically.
Okay,
We'd like to,
whatever's easiest for you, right?
okay. So then moving forward, that's what we'll do. We'll probably just do them electronically.
Planning and zoning.
Well, I haven't talked to the zoning yet. But, yes, that's our ultimate goal.
I mean, I can always print them out, so.
Right.
I can do that much.
It's appreciated that,
I figured out how to turn it on, I can print, but that's about it.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing further, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.